Hey, George, are you going to be able to join the show today?
No, I'm busy. I can't do it. I'm out doing my thing.
Wow, why is your beard so bushy today?
I'm not a slave, and, I like it this way anyway. It makes me feel like a real man, you know? I'm George Ramaka.
Okay, all right, well, whatever. Anyway, so, you can't join, you're going to be, what?
I'm going to be out of town doing my thing, you know? I'm George Ramaka.
Okay, well, enjoy yourself, and, I guess I'll see you next week, and I'll just do the show on my own.
Yeah, do it on your own. Yeah, you think it's like a funny man? You can do stuff on your own? Go ahead, do it. Do it, you son of a bitch.
Wow, don't need to be hostile, dude.
I'm George Ramaka.
All right, well, you enjoy yourself, okay?
All right, I'm going.
It's George. So there'll be no George on this episode, but it's me. Isn't that wonderful? All right, let's start. Welcome to Does This Still Work? The podcast of cool movies and asks, does this still work? I'm Joe Dixon, and only Joe Dixon. Ain't no George in this episode, just little old me. Sweet old Joey. And today we're going to discuss a piece of the action. Yes, I had to look for a second. What movie did we say? A piece of action from 1977, and some historical context. But first, some podcasting stuff.
We're excited to announce that we've joined the Creator Accountability Network. CAN is a nonprofit dedicated to reducing harassment and abuse through ethical education and a system of restorative accountability. We joined because we care about the safety and well-being of our community members. If you feel our behavior or content has harmed someone, please report it to CAN either via the reporting form on their website, creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org, or via their hotline at 617-249-4255. They'll help us make it right and avoid repeating that mistake in the future. CAN also needs volunteers from our communities to help with their work, so if you have skills you think would be helpful, or time and a desire to help, please visit their website to find out how you can volunteer. Most importantly, get the word out to other creators who you think would be interested in getting credentialed. Help us build safer communities together.
You can reach us at dtswpod@gmail.com, on Facebook, Letterboxd, and on your YouTube channel. Well, on our YouTube channel. We can't reach, well, yeah, you can pin us on your YouTube channel, but it's our YouTube channel you'll find us first, and you can pin it on yours, so we don't mind. And you can find me on Blue Sky at joedixon.bsky.social. Got that? Okay, good. So, please tell your friends about us, even the ones who don't steal from gangsters, and leave 5-star ratings everywhere once you pick our podcast on your, YouTube channel. You can pick what we watch and get extra per episode content by funding us on Patreon for as little as $1 per month at patreon.com/DTSWpod. Okay, so, sorry, let's get into history. History theme music.
And this is the way it was.
This movie, a piece of action, is a story about a con man and a burglar who are forced to work together at a community center. They both operate out of Chicago, so our history will come from that town in the great year of 1977, when the movie came out, of course. All right, so this first story is from the Chicago Tribune. Con man gets 15 years sentence. 15 freaking years for just being a con man. That's not in the article, that's just me. Okay. First paragraph, a con man who built 4 elderly women out of $37,500 for phone repairs for pest extermination work was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison Friday. It only kind of says that already. Can you imagine seeing the movie? The con man is played by Bill Cosby, who doesn't steal any money from old ladies, steals from gangsters. How he knows what gangsters are steal from, I don't know, but he knew and he stole from that one. But that's neither here nor there. We're getting to that. But right now we're in history, so go back to that. Okay, back to the article. And handing down the sentence against Stuart E. Siegel, 46 of 3429 Woodland Drive, Olympia Fields, who was convicted on 7 counts of mail fraud, federal district judge Bernard M. Decker said, "I can think of no more despicable way to obtain money." The judge added that the sentence would convey my sense of abhorrence for Siegel's crimes. He's very pissy. And he did stuff from old ladies. I'm not going to get into the whole article. You can take a look on our page if you really want to read there. So that's from 1977. It relates to the movie. Let's move on. Next one is from the Daily Herald. Does that paper still exist? I didn't check. Does the Chicago Tribune still exist? I don't think it does. Does it? Right in Chicago. Let us know. Okay, this is from the Daily Herald, again, 1977. Cops seek burglars in shop eatery hits. Okay. Arlington Heights police are seeking burglars who stole $1,800 cash and goods from a butcher shop and a restaurant over the holiday weekend. Well, if you're going to steal, the best time is probably to do it over the holiday weekend when everyone's busy. You're going to steal when they're there? They'll stop you. I mean, Jesus, give the criminals a little credit. Police said burglars forced a rear door lock to gain entry to Jay's Meat Market at 7 East Campbell Street between 4:45 p.m. Friday and 10:30 a.m. Saturday. Okay, well, that makes sense. Sure. Break into the back door. We all like going through the back door, don't we, kids? All right. The burglars reportedly rifled cabinets and desks and stole a bank bag containing $1,800 cash from the shop's front office. Police said burglars also struck Rap's restaurant at 602 Northwest Highway prior to 4:25 a.m. Saturday morning. Police said a patrolman cruising by the restaurant noticed its rear door open, again with the rear doors. Maybe you shouldn't have rear doors at your eateries. Maybe that's the problem. Why do they have rear doors? Why can't you just have the front door? Maybe if there's a fire, have a side door. No one's breaking into the side door. Just an idea from your favorite podcast host, Joe Dixon. All right, we're not going to read the rest of this. It's a little background. People broke into things back in the day in 1977, but they still do today. We're not unfamiliar with these crimes. Okay, let's talk about a piece of the action. The title, by the way, a piece of the action, comes from a Nixon phrase he uttered on the Watergate tapes. The Watergate tapes, if you're not familiar, kids, is tapes that Richard Nixon, the former president of the United States, he was president at the time, had to resign. The only president to have to resign. You really shouldn't be the only one who had to resign, but he is the only one who had to, up to this point, at the time of this recording. Maybe something wonderful by the time this comes out will happen, and the current occupant will resign, but I don't think that's likely. That being Donald Trump, in case nobody knows. If you don't remember, who is the president these days? That's the president. Anyway, Nixon was recorded on the White House recordings, which they called the Watergate tapes. But technically, he was talking about Watergate because Nixon was afraid he was going to lose the election to George McGovern, something no one else thought was going to happen. But for some reason, he was under the impression he was losing this election, so he cheated because he was a Republican. And so he had his burglars break into the DNC offices in the Watergate, in the Watergate Hotel, and get all this information and stuff. And as we all know, the burglars got caught, and the whole thing came out that it was connected to Nixon. And so Nixon was chatting away on his tapes because the White House at the time, maybe still does, but they were, well, definitely not this current guy, but they would record things because, most presidents, awful as we may have found them, weren't doing illegal things. So they were happy to chat away and have recorded for history. Nixon, who was doing illegal things, for some reason thought, well, I'm still going to record it because why not? And eventually took out 18 minutes of the tape to hide it because I guess it's most incriminating. The whole tape is incriminating. But one of the things it says is that the crooks and himself, they all wanted a piece of the action. That's all. So that's where that phrase comes from. Okay. Let's get into the credits of the film. Now, the guy who directed it was Sidney Poitier. And he directed it, can you guess, kids? Poorly. I'm sorry. It's not one of his better works. But we have seen Poitier's work. And as an actor, we've seen him in for the podcast in The Heat of the Night. Buck and the Preacher, which you also directed, which I thought that directing was pretty good. And To Sir with Love. Now, as a director, for the podcast, we've seen Richard wasn't Stir Crazy, but I'm talking about Sidney Poitier. Sidney Poitier directed Stir Crazy, which is a huge hit. And his directing was okay, but better than A Piece of the Action. So there's that. So he was a director, and we see some of his director stuff. Now, as an actor, I've seen Mr. Poitier in Uptown Saturday Night and Let's Do It Again, which are the sort of the two films that come before this one, because they did Uptown Saturday Night, Let's Do It Again, and then A Piece of the Action, which people consider a trilogy, even though they play different characters in each picture. So it's really not, but that's what people consider a trilogy, because they didn't do any other pictures after that together. And also saw Mr. Poitier in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, A Raisin in the Sun, and The Defiant Ones. That's the film we mentioned before in the podcast where He was chained. He played a prisoner. Sidney Poitier played a prisoner, and Tony Curtis played a prisoner, and they escaped from their captivity, but they're still chained together. So they have to run around chained together. It was a metaphor for black and white relations. And they got some Oscar buzz, but Curtis was certain they weren't going to win because they didn't think they were going to give the Oscar to a Jew and a black. And they didn't at that time. So it wasn't. Although I don't know. I don't know who the first Jewish person was to win an Oscar, but I can imagine before the fight, right? I don't know. I didn't check. You can check, ladies. I'm checking who was the first Jewish person to win an Oscar? I mean, not for design or anything like that. I mean, in front of the camera, like an actor or supporting actor, that sort of thing. I'm just curious. Anyway, Charles Blackwell and Timothy March. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, if you're going to be Blackwell. Blackwell helped write Stir Crazy, and March helped write Let's Do It Again. So they've had the previous scratch, but that's the only thing we've seen of theirs. Or I've seen. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm all by myself here. All by myself. Don't want to be all by myself anymore. See, I am I'm doing an old song. Here's some blurbs. You like the blurbs, don't you, kids? What's with the kid shit? I'm suddenly Kevin Smith. Hey, kids, how's it? He does that on his podcast. You don't know. Anyway, back to my bullshit. The blurbs. IMDb says a retired Chicago cop blackmails two rich thieves into volunteering, in quotes, to help juvenile delinquents change paths. Which is kind of true, although it's weird that he felt the need to blackmail these two men. Why can't he do it himself, you might be asking, which I don't know. Why he felt the need to have criminals get the kids. Why would he... how did he know they'd be safe around the children? I have no idea. Anyway, YouTube says, Sidney Poitier directed and stars in this comedy drama caper along with Bill Cosby and James Earl Jones. Dave Anderson and Manny Dorrell are career criminals and successful cat burglars who have never been caught. And if you do decide to see the movie, if you remember it, that's hard to believe they've never been caught because some of their crimes, especially Bill Cosby, like, I think he would have been caught. I mean, at one point he's like kidnapping someone. He sends a guy down a sewer well or something to get money from him. Like, this is not the smoothest of criminality going on here. Anyway, back to the YouTube blurb. Retired detective Joshua Berg gathers enough evidence to send them both to prison. He blackmails them into giving back to the community by working at a youth center for delinquents. After initial reluctance and problems, the crooks gain the admiration of the kids and begin to enjoy the job. But things go awry when someone from their past shows up demanding one last heist. Ta-da! Okay, let's get into this. I'm going to skip the characters because I don't want to. But we'll just get right into the plot and we'll discuss. All right. Now, the movie opens up like it's a Columbo episode, which I find really weird. Now, if you're not familiar with Columbo was an old TV show where Peter Falk, and if you don't know Columbo, you probably don't know who Peter Falk is, but anyway, he was the actor who played Columbo. He played this detective who, this is 1970s TV, so he only arrested rich people, which is sweet. No poors in the world of Columbo. He only arrested upper class and very wealthy people. And they always committed murder, and it was his job to find out who did the murder. Well, to be fair, the way Columbo was set up was, we know who did the murder. We have to follow Columbo to figure out how he figures out who did the murder. That's how the show worked. So it's sort of working it from a different angle. But it was a fun show. And if you see reruns, watch one. They're streaming somewhere, I'm sure. Okay. So it was like a Columbo episode. It was like a TV, is what I'm saying. TV credits open. And I'm like, I don't know why Mr. Poitier did it that way. Anyway, so in the opening, Bill Cosby is robbing a banking institution of some sort. It only has one guard for some reason, which makes stealing easier, you must admit, if there's only one security guard in there. So one of the joint hasn't been hit many times. And what he does, right, he breaks into the place, gets the money, slides on the floor past these lights. They're supposed to send off the alarm if the lights go off. We say that in plenty of movies. So he gets past that. And he gets to a window, and he opens at the window sets off the alarm, but he doesn't care because he's going to jump out the window into a waiting van way down, several flights down, and when he jumps down, there's a fake roof, so he just breaks through the roof into nice soft cushions, and then he gets out of there and gets in his truck and drives away. How he pulls that all off without, car getting towed. How often did he test jumping from that building down in that thing, knowing that he would be okay? He landed? I don't know. These are the questions I had, but it's not answered. Later on, like the following scene, we see Sidney Poitier working with a bunch of other guys to rip up this mobster. And what they did is he had a gang of guys pretending they were cops to raid the mobster's place. Okay. And they have, now the mobster has a housekeeper. And he gives his illegal money to her. He says, take this, and he didn't tell her it's money. He just says, can you take this and send it down to blah, blah, blah. Yeah, can you help me out? She says, all right, fine. And it turns out she's one of the gang, part of Poitier's gang. And they all love it. Hey, we got the money. Now, the first question you'd have to have is, what if the mobster didn't freak out about cops showing up and just like opens the door like, hey, do you have a warrant? Hey, call my lawyer, or calls up his lawyer and says, there's a bunch of cops running around. And what if he hadn't seen them coming? Because they don't announce they're police at any point. He just sees guys coming out of the car and he assumes they're cops. There's no alarm on top of the, like one of those police alarms on top of the car. No one says police. He just assumes. Literally, it could have been other gangsters to rob him for all he knows. So you think he would have been a bit more suspicious, but they just assume it's just cops. Okay. And then how does Poitier know? Oh, they're absolutely going to give it to the maid. And also, why wouldn't the gangster be curious? Because the maid takes the thing and she goes out. She's not the maid, of course. She works for Cosby, but the gangsters don't know that. So she takes the bag that he gives her and she walks out and she walks past the cops, the fake cops. Wouldn't they have stopped her? I mean, if they're really cops, wouldn't the gangster go like, if I send her out there, won't they stop her because she is in this place and they're searching for something and they're just going to let her just walk out? Why? Why would they do that? But they do. And they get the money. That's how Cosby gets his money. So Poitier does it by doing a robbery, a burglary, and Sidney Poitier gets his money by ripping off the gangster. Okay. Now, James Earl Jones is investigating both these cases. And so we've seen a young James Earl Jones before, for Claudia. We've seen him before. And he looks pretty much the same. I guess it's because it's like the 70s, so he doesn't look that different. But he's there. And he's like looking around like, How he figures it out, and other cops don't, I have no idea. And how he figures out that it's these two guys, I have no idea. Especially if they don't have a police record. So how does he even know where to begin to look? But later we'll find out that he's figured it out that it's them. Anyway. Meanwhile, at a community center, there are these kids who are just, they're all crazy and bananas and are bouncing off the walls and everything. And it's a job of the center, the community center, to get these kids jobs. They got to get them jobs. Jobs. They need to work. Because they're not really kids. They're more like young adults. And they need to get out and get work and, bring their lives. And two of the guys I noticed, I didn't recognize any of the other actors. I may have seen them before. I don't know. I didn't check their credits because I didn't want to. We skipped that for this week. Because it's Joe's time. And Joe didn't want to do it. All right, anyway. The two actors I did recognize of the youngins in that scene of the kids at the community center was Raj, without glasses, from What's Happening, and Luther, the orderly from St. Elsewhere. So those are my two references. These Raj and Luther. Were those their real names? Of course not. So they're character names, but that's how I know them. Like, hey, that's Raj. And Raj always wore the glasses. Oh my God. When I was in school, Raj, What's Happening was on TV. My glasses were black, like his, black frames. Oh, and I was skinny. I was a skinny kid. Hard to believe now. Well, you can't tell from my face, but I'm a fatty. But you wouldn't know it now. At the time, I was a very skinny child, and Lord have mercy, and he was skinny in the series. Lord have mercy, people just could not stop me being Raj. I'm Raj. I assume any black man with frames, black frames, was accused of being this, but it was like, or a young man anyway. Very, very, very annoying. Anyway, the kids are obnoxious, but even worse is the preachiness of Sidney Poitier. Back in the day, Bill Cosby, before he became Rape Cosby, was annoying Cosby. He had the TV show, And he used the TV show to decide, well, I'm going to be preachy McPreachy and just tell people, oh, he had a real hang about poor people. Bill Cosby hates poor black people. He just straight up can't stand it. And he just talk all sorts of shit about them. And this is basically, this film endorses that later process of Cosby's with Sidney Poitier being preaching to kids. Oh, you kids don't know anything. You gotta go and get jobs. You gotta work yourselves. You gotta blah blah blah. And don't get this middle class bullshit stuff. And that's not Tom. And you gotta go and get yourself successful. Blah blah blah. But it is condescending, really insulting stuff. Just really offensive, obnoxious as hell. And that goes throughout the whole movie. It's very preachy stuff. It's supposed to be a comedy drama. That is neither drama nor comedy. It was just bad. B-A-D. Bad. Okay, and I don't mean the Michael Jackson dancing way bad. It's bad as in not good. The opposite of good. Bad. The worst thing in the movie for me is when one of the kids who they're practicing their interviewing skills, which they do horrendously. I have interviewed people, and of course I've been interviewed for jobs. The way this is done in this film is so ludicrous. And one of the kids who goes up there, other young man, is asked about, oh, what kind of job you want? And he starts getting this crying and getting this teary-eyed story about how he needs to go and work, because his mother needs to take care of his brother, because they have the blah, 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 and they're broke, and they need to work, and blah, 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 blah. And like, what employee wants to hear this? And at no point does Cosby stop it and go like, hey, that's not what an employee wants to hear. He wants to hear about your skills and what you bring to this job. Because I just to make something perfectly clear, I'm sure our brilliant listeners and viewers know this already, but just in case you don't, or you have a friend or family member who doesn't realize this, here's a fact about life. Jobs exist for demand. I would say cure demand, but jobs exist for demand. If there was a demand for something, a hot dog, a movie, a TV show, a podcast, people create it and they feed the demand. That is the only reason jobs exist. They don't exist because rich people are job makers. I'm just making jobs for people. Ooh, I'm rich. Look at me. I'm just making jobs. Look at the little jobs I make. Look at the little jobs. No. Bullshit. That's nonsense. They are feeding a demand. Somebody needs something. I want to give it to them. I can't do it by myself. I'm going to hire employees to do it. That's what creates jobs. Period. In the conversation. Demand. That's it. Not just, oh, I'm rich. I'm waking up today and I'm rich. Oh, let me just give people jobs. That's my thing. I'm just a job maker. Motherfucker, you're giving it to a demand. There's a demand for this stuff. That's what you're doing, which is fine. Nothing wrong with it, but let's call it what it is. No one should be thanking you for the job you created, you son of a bitch. Sorry, I don't know who I'm talking to in that, but I'm talking to somebody, and I don't like them. All right. The most shocking scene, though, oh my God, and this is why this movie does not work. If you couldn't tell, I just said it was poorly directed, so of course I don't think it works. Although I guess could it be poorly directed and still, it doesn't matter. Anyway, the most shocking scene in this movie, and it's the reason this picture will probably, I don't know if they ever really rerun this anywhere. I can understand if they don't, or if they do, they have to cut this scene out. All right, at one point, Bill Cosby is trying to seduce the person who runs the center. Okay. So he takes her to a disco. Fine, they dance and whatever. And she goes off to the bathroom. Some other woman approaches him. And she says, and he's been to the club before, so she knows him. And she says, if he doesn't dance with her, she's going to yell rape. And he says, is that a request? And then she says, request for what? To rape or dance? And he says, don't make no never mind to me. 1977, Bill Cosby in a movie. Jesus Christ. Holy shit. Just freeze it right there. That movie's done. Done. Holy fuck. Oh. First of all, not great to be making jokes about rape, but holy hell, if somebody shouldn't be doing it, it's Bill Cosby, Mr. Rapey McRape himself. I just it blew my mind seeing that, like, wow. No good. Not a good movie. Bad movie. So we say it doesn't work. Doesn't work. You can't. What the hell? The absolute fuck. Okay, so that's it. This episode. Did I speed through that? Was I too fast? I don't know. I have no one to bounce against. I got no one to bounce this off of. But it doesn't work. It's not a good movie. It's poorly directed. The plot is very bad. James Earl Jones. At one point, James Earl Jones, he blackmails. And again, it's never explained why he blackmails them, as opposed to him. If he cares so much about the community center, he does not work in that community center, by the way. His wife ran the community center, and she passed away. And at no point, he's a retired cop. At no point did he decide, I'll go work at the community center out of respect for my wife. Instead, he blackmails two criminals to go work in this space with younger people for some reason. We decided the young people, that's where these criminals should be, that I know are criminals, that I somehow figured out, that no other cop has figured out that it's them, but I have figured it out. I'm going to blackmail them. And the way he does it is that he calls them on the phone and tells them he knows all their shit, so that's why they have to go along with what he's saying, so they finally figure out it's him. And how they figure it out is they hear his voice, because it's James Earl Jones. So they keep looking for people who sound like James Earl Jones, and eventually they find him, and that's how that's a work. No, that's not true. Actually, they find his name, and then they find out it's him, which, you can see, there's like a million names. How you can know that's him? It's kind of stupid. But anyway, you hear James Earl Jones. And so when you hear James Earl Jones on the phone, of course, you do think of Darth Vader, which still can say this movie because of the whole rapey McRape thing, but the having his voice and no face, when you're just hearing his voice, on the phone or whatever, it's like, it would have been so awesome if he came in as Darth Vader. It just would have been like, and what, Star Wars was released in 1977, so it would have been impossible. I just came from the set of Star Wars. And like, why, what are you wearing that black suit for, man? We're shooting the scene. We're shooting this scene. And he goes, I don't know, I did feel like changing my clothes. This is okay. This will work. They're like, no. Because nobody knew who Darth Vader was at the same time. They were like, what is this outfit where you got a cape, you're wearing an entire black, we don't get it. Why you got that? Which I guess technically wouldn't be true, since he only provided the voice. Another actor provided the body of Darth Vader. So my little scenario there actually wouldn't happen. So never mind. Forget what I just said. Just forget it all. Just forget it. Okay. Moving on. What is coming up next? I don't know. I have absolutely no idea what's coming up next. So it's going to be a surprise to you and me. Who knows? I could check, but I'm not going to, because we're loosey-goosey on this episode. Loosey-goosey. I don't know who Lucy is, I know who Goosey is, but we're loosey-goosey together. All right. So I guess that's it for the episode. I'm Joe Dixon. Thanks for listening, because if a podcast drops and there's nobody here to listen, it's just another collection of ones and zeros that doesn't matter. See, I can do that ending too. I can do that, sure. All right. Talk to you later. And for those for the post show, stick around, because there is a post show with just wonderful me. Aren't I sweet? I'm so sweet. Yes, I'm like sugar. Okay. Rest of you, talk to you next time. And again, those for the post show, stick around. Get the post show.
You've been listening to Does This Still Work? Produced by Joe Dixon and George Ramaka. This content is CAN credentialed, which means you can report instances of harassment, abuse, or other harm on their hotline at 617-249-4255 or on their website at creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org. The hosts can be reached via social media, email, or the contact page at dtswpod.com. Be good to yourself and others, because that still works.
And this is where we play the opening theme music. And I'm scrolling down to cut out. Hopefully. Or it'll be in. I don't know. All right, dear Ann. Yesterday, while I was driving my car, some jerk threw a rotten banana in the window. Dear Ann, I'm 44. Husband, same age, swell guy.